Okay, we're recording. Well, not we, it's just me. Uh, I might as well record because I don't want to just talk to myself, although I will be live here talking to myself. As so far, no one has entered this particular Zoom meeting other than myself as the host. Uh, Usually Betty is uh, is with me here, but she had some business to attend to this afternoon. So it will be me for a while. Fortunately, I do have some Baba stories of the sort that I was hoping people would want to pitch in and offer up to those of you who might be listening to this recording, if the recording actually gets onto YouTube. We'll see. Um, but in the meantime, I might as well tell some Baba stories because that's what this meeting was intended to do. And fortunately, I have some. I've written some down as to what I might talk about. And first one on top of this list here is a story of a personal anecdote that happened to me. And this was when living in the San Francisco Bay Area, where I lived for over 40 years. And so I married Lisa Grossman, and we had two kids, Eva and David. And at one point, when they were like 5 and 3 or something like that, we went 2 years in a row. We flew over to Myrtle Beach and uh, were pilgrims at the center in Myrtle Beach. And one of the things that they particularly enjoyed was hanging out with Bob and Jane Brown. And Bob and Jane seemed to like their company as well. And so they became, good buddies. Now, what happened was uh, I was on the board of directors for our local center, the Northern California Center. And and so I came up with an idea. I am particularly big on ideas. And there's some creativity there. Now, follow through is another thing that more in the line of that's something that I had to develop and learn. And so this is where Baba comes in. Now, the idea that I came up with was to invite this is, by the way, this is in the late 80s when my kids were still little. And so I approached the board with an idea of inviting Bob and Jane to come out and do a concert and have it be a fundraiser. Now, this had never, nothing like that had ever been even suggested that we bring out a couple of singers, two airline tickets across the country to do a concert one night. It wasn't like a week long Sahavas or a weekend long Sahavas or anything like that. It was just have them for the night. Uh, so they looked at me like I was crazy, which I've gotten used to over the years. And and they said they went along with it. They actually voted to do it. But some of the people that were not really for it then looked at me and said, "Well, Ron, you're in charge then. It was your idea. You got to pull it off." And so I thought, well, it's just a concert. There's been concerts before, and I've given concerts at the center or at the church. It was at a church where we had our meetings at the time. We didn't have a center in those days. Anyhow, I said, yeah, sure, I'll do it. And so it was, moving along toward the date when I don't know. I don't know if I was involved in getting their airline tickets booked or paid for or anything like that. I can't remember that part of it. But what I do remember was while when it was getting closer to the time when they were going to be having the concert. Okay, Wendy is coming right in the middle of this story, but that's okay, Wendy. I'm glad to. I'm glad you're here. Um, I think you're here.
I
Are you are? Okay, good. Anyhow,
here.
thanks for coming. Um, so I started telling stories. I'm in the middle of the first one.
I'm
Uh,
so sorry. My apologies.
nope, no problem. So I'm telling this story. I think you'll get the hang of it. I'm at the juicy part right now, which is that I'm in the midst of sort of planning this concert and fundraising concert that Bob and Jane Brown decided they would be willing to fly out to the Bay Area and perform for us. Um, so I remember one of the things was I remember my kids were so excited. And they were again, they were little, like like 4, 6, 3 or 5 or something like that. And and they got into this thing every day. They would go, Bob and Jane, Jane and Bob, Bob and Jane, Jane. And it was it became like a mantra for them. Anyhow, they were very excited about this happening. Now, to get back to the Baba part, which was that somebody came up to me. I'm not exactly sure who these people. I'm not going to name who the people were because I don't remember all of them. Um, but one person came up and said, "Ron, do you have somebody doing the refreshments?" And I thought to myself, "Refreshments? Oh, hadn't thought of that. I didn't tell them I hadn't thought of it, but I hadn't." And so I said, well, I haven't got anybody at this time. Would you be interested in doing that? He said, oh, yeah, I would like to do that. Okay, that'd be great. And so that happened. And then somebody came up to me and said, Ron, are you going to be having someone to do flowers for the concert? I think it would be nice to have flowers. I said, oh, it would be nice to have flowers. And I don't have anybody at this time. Would you be interested in taking care of that? Oh, yeah, I would like to do that. So then somebody comes up to me and says, Ron, I don't know if you thought of this, but the lighting in this room is horrible. And we do have some lamps here, and I could even bring some more and make it quite a bit more attractive setting for the concert. Is that something that you feel would be good? I said, sounds very good. And so I appreciate your volunteering for that. So that happened, and we picked up Bob and Jane, and they had a beautiful concert and nice lighting, nice refreshments, beautiful flower arrangements, and everybody seemed to be happy. I don't think we made any money on it. I mean, I don't know if I ever came up with an idea that actually made money for the center, even though they were supposed to be fundraisers. But that apparently was not my contribution. But we people enjoyed listening to Bob and Jane. Some people had never heard them because they hadn't been to Myrtle Beach yet. So it was entertaining and enlightening and fun. And uh, when it was all over, I basically turned to Baba and said, "Baba, you saved me. You saved me from walking into the hall and just setting up some chairs and turning on the fluorescent lights, and people could go out to eat afterwards or something, which would have, in my mind, my imagination, it wouldn't have gotten the rave reviews at all. It would have been the opposite. Say, why did we ever let that guy do that? Um, so I said, Baba, you saved me. And Baba says, I know I did, but I wanted to. And so I did. But keep in mind that now you know better. So I'm not going to be saving you next time. Once you know it, then it's up to you to live up to it. So that was a big lesson for me. and hopefully I'm a little bit better at it. Okay, Wendy, did you? I'm pretty sure you brought some stories, right?
Well, I wasn't quite sure what all of this was about, and I'll be honest, I was kind of surfing thinking, I don't feel like doing anything outside. It's raining. So I'm not quite sure. Like I have lots of stories of things that I experienced being over in India for sure.
Mhm.
Give me a clue. Ask me a question and maybe I can get my brain going.
Well, if I think of a question, but if you think of a story that comes to mind while I'm telling one, then just we'll turn to you to hear that story.
Okay.
It'll
All
if it
right.
something it'll something will come up, something will come to mind. Ask Baba for a story that and it'll come up. I'm pretty
Can
sure.
it be about, out at Marizad when I was out there, those kind of things
It can be
when I was working?
any story that you like. It could be about you. It could be about anybody that you've ever heard, and a story. But what I wanted, because of the name of this meeting, is how the master works. I
Right.
wanted it to depict uh, that how Baba comes into it and perhaps offers a lesson or does something in a way that draws you closer to him or eliminates
Okay.
some sanskaras that were not he thought
Okay.
could be removed or something like that.
Okay. Well, I have one then.
Good.
I have one for you.
All right.
Shall I share it now?
Yeah.
Okay. So, this would have been um, probably around 80, 82, but don't quote me on that. My life was kind of in a mess, to say the least, and I knew I had to make some changes. And I didn't want to go back to a career that I was in before. I wanted to do something different. So I went and I took a course. Because I'm good with people, and people have told me their problems all their life. So I decided to go back and do that. So anyway, I did the course, I passed, loved it, and then a year later, there's a reunion. And so we're all gathered around, and this lady named Una said to me, you know what? There's a gentleman over there named Martin Cura. You might want to go over and talk to him. And I went, I'm done with men. I don't want to talk to any. I just want to work on my new career. So anyway, she kind of pushed me over, went over and said, call you silly, hi, my name is Wendy, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden the bell rang because it was a conference, and we all had chosen, topics we wanted to study. So Martin said to me, okay, we can't talk right now, but I'll meet you right here and we'll go to lunch. And it was like, oh man, okay, 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 okay. So we both go to our courses, we meet back and we go into the lunch. And anyway, the reason that it even got started was my friend who introduced us. She had spent her childhood in India, and it was somewhere that I really wanted to go. And anyway, that's how that kind of came to be. So, anyway, we meet, we're sitting there in the restaurant, and I'm not sure exactly how it came up, but it was about he had gone to India. And I said, oh, so what pulled you to India? And he said, well, there's a spiritual teacher there that I went. I didn't get to see him, but I went to the place where he was and at Mandalay. And so we're talking back and forth. And then he said, I don't know whether I asked for a picture or he offered that. I can't remember. But he got a picture of Baba out of his wallet and he put it in my hand. And it started to beat like a heart in my hand. And I went, who is this? And then I looked to my left, and the restaurant we were sitting in, there was a central garden. And that garden, it was Halloween weekend. And up here in Canada, everything's pretty much dead, nothing. And this garden was vibrant. It was unbelievable. And that's when I turned to him and said, okay, who is he really? Like, who is this? And of course, he started telling me about Meher Baba and his connection, and that's his story to tell. And that was my introduction to Baba. And then I asked him before we parted, so can I get any books on this person? Like, where would I find like, I don't know anything about this. And he told me about God Speaks and Discourses. And anyway, so needless to say, this is the first thing on my agenda. And yeah, and it was life-changing. It just progressed slowly but surely from there. And as you well know, Mike and I have been married for over 35 years now. But from that very moment, Baba it was like he grabbed me and said, okay, here we go. And it was a really hard time in my life because I was going through a divorce. I had 3 young children, not babies, but young. And I was absolutely enchanted by Meher Baba. Like, it's not my gig. Have I been a lover of God all my life? Yes. My parents used to say to me, Wendy, where do you get this stuff from? You know, uh, so that, kind of put it a little bit in perspective as I, went along the journey. It was like, you've been asking for this on some level without even knowing you were asking. Um, yeah, so, and there's so many more pieces to this story for sure, but that's how the story began. And the other cute thing about it was the lady that introduced us, she spent her childhood in Ahmednagar because her father was in the British Army there, where their quarters, whatever you called that. Um, yeah, she lived there in her childhood. So when I told her quite a few years later that we were going to India, she said, oh, where are you going? And I said, oh, this funny little town called Ahmednagar. Ahmednagar, she said. I spent my childhood there. So,
Did
yeah,
she know about Mayor Baba?
I'm sorry.
Did Una know about Mayor Baba?
No, no, she didn't,
Isn't
but
that
it didn't
something?
take her long to find out lots about him, and she was pretty intrigued for
Yeah.
sure.
Well, yeah, the fact that she would recommend you go to the Baba lover over there, you know, that's that's special. And of course, if she was living there when the British were there, then
Correct.
that was before Baba arrived
Yes.
in
Yeah.
Ahmednagar.
Yes, because she was in probably her maybe late 60s, 70s when I met her. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I haven't thought about that in a long time. Thanks for stirring
That
that one up, Ron.
yeah, That's a
Thank
good
you.
one. Oh, it's, how he pulls us in from
Yeah,
wherever we happen to be is
right.
so it's magical, yet it's natural at the same time.
That's a
Yeah.
good comparison. That's
That-
very true.
That's Baba's way somehow. So
Yeah,
it's
he does
beautiful,
that.
his ways.
Yeah. And I've never looked back. And my one of the things my children said to me as I started to get more involved and going to India, they said, Mom, I don't have the same as you do, but you are so happy. You are so happy, and we're happy for you.
Mm,
So, yeah. Anyway, there you go.
good. Um, let's see.
Your turn.
I've got little things that I've heard along the way that uh, I guess I must have told them uh, now and again, and they kind of stuck in my mind. And these are stories that are about other Baba lovers that had special things happen to them.
Mhm.
And one of the things, one of Baba's ways, and I was just talking to somebody uh, yesterday. Actually, it was uh, Arsenio Rodriguez was telling a story where Baba comes up 13 years later and and fits a piece together. And I said it was like the punchline, but he waits 13 years so that it really has some impact. And it's just his timing is amazing. So this has something to do with that, and it's a story I heard about Divana, and after she started living there with the women Mandali and Merazad, it came a day. This was when Mara was still there. Um, so again, this was probably in the 80s too. I got some 80s stories. Um, and so one night, uh, I think it was Meru, out of the blue, says to Divana, Divana, why don't you dance for Mara? And I, I didn't get the idea that that was something that was typical. That was kind of like out of the blue. Um, but nevertheless, if Mabro asks you to do it for Mara, well, there was no hesitancy. She got up, and I can't remember now if even if there was music, if they had music to play while she danced. I have a feeling maybe there was no music, but she began to dance. And as she after she was finished dancing, uh, or even during, it came to her that when she was younger, she had wanted to be a ballet dancer. I mean, like a professional ballet dancer, and um, and it just had not worked out for her to continue along that path. And she really felt like this was Baba bringing that up, which had maybe been just a little something that would not be, that would be kind of sad. And, but probably not something she thought about all the time, but it could be something that got triggered every once in a while and just made her feel sad that she wasn't able to fulfill that. But this was so fulfilling to be able to dance to the beloved's beloved and meet with her approval and uh, applause, I suppose. I don't know. Um, that was that was it, and that might have been 10 years later or something. I don't know how many years ago it would have been where she had to give up the dancing part and move on to something else. But isn't it something the way Baba can just bring things up. He just brings them up and takes care of it. He works. You know what? I remember Baba has said uh, that he loves to work things out. You know, if you got a
Yes.
problem or an issue or something, uh, said, you know, you don't worry about it. Let me worry about it because I like doing that. I have fun doing that,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
maybe that's why it's usually brings about some smiles when you
Yeah.
realize what's happened.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That's a good story. It's a good
Yeah.
story. Yeah. Yeah. Once you step on to that road, I don't know, maybe some people get off. I don't know. I couldn't imagine not being on this road. I just couldn't. I just couldn't. I have said to Baba many times, take what you need to take, but please leave me my memory of you. Yeah,
Leave
so
what? Leave what?
leave all my memories of you so that I feel you. I can, the other stuff, if it has to happen, whatever, but please, please don't take that from me because
That's the treasure, isn't it? Isn't that his gift to us that he says, "Here, take this." And as we and when we share these kinds of memories, that's what we're talking about, memories.
yes,
Uh,
yes,
then we we we're able to share it with others, and it grows. Now they have it,
yes.
and we have it, and it's much. There's more. There's more
Right,
of it. Instead of
right.
losing something by giving
Yeah,
it to somebody, it grows. Right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's yeah, it's not always easy because it can isolate you sometimes from some people because they, think other things but the love for him is so strong. At least for me, it's like, well, you think what you think. I'm okay with that. I have to be me. I have to be me. I don't want to compromise this. I just don't. It's so beautiful a journey, and it's not like you get everything you want, but sometimes you get more than you even asked for. It's just like, wow, this is amazing. And one of my grandchildren, um, he wasn't speaking, he was over a year old, and everybody kept saying, you know, is there something wrong? Da da. I mean, he'd make sounds, but he didn't speak. And then Dolly and Joel were here at the house, and my oldest son, it was his son, and I think he came for dinner. He joined us for dinner, but I'm not. It may have been lunch. It doesn't matter. And he got to meet Dolly and Joel, and Parker was very young, and he's sitting there in the chair. And then all of a sudden, we're all talking. He just out, Mayor Baba. We all stopped and swiveled. It was, he didn't say it twice. He only said it once. It was like, oh my God. Of course, Grandma cried because that's what I do. I was like, if you're going to say anything, that's awesome. Yeah.
Out of the mouths of babes.
Exactly. Exactly. Someone else said that to me, and I went,
Yeah.
yeah, in this case, that's exactly it. Yeah. Yeah. I think all of us that have been with Baba for years, and mine are not as long as some, you just, you can't help but fall madly in love with him. You just can't help it. It just, yeah, no matter how flat a time in your life is, maybe not working or you're not well or whatever, but somehow he keeps you connected to him. He doesn't let you, forget I'm there. I'm there. Even though you may think you've been abandoned, at least for me anyway, I shouldn't talk generally, but for me, I'll get to that lower than a snake's belly feeling. And then all of a sudden, that nudge comes in and it's like, right, right.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was just listening to Padre tell some stories about being with Baba, and
Yes.
and also Erich just said this, and probably other Mandali would agree that uh, you don't cross the threshold, Baba's threshold, unless you've got a connection. So, uh, like when you said you speak for yourself, you've got the connection, and so you're connected, and you want to uh, prize and value that connection. That's his lover,
Right.
prizing the connection and relishing those remembrances and things of anything like that
That's right. That's
would uh,
right.
would just be going along with it. But just to get in the door, you you have to have the connection. Now, how the connection is made, I don't know if anybody knows. That's pretty mysterious. Uh,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. Well, I mean, the first trip you were there. I met you and your children, your wife, and I got I was in a state of awe most of the time from almost arrival in India till departure. It just was so magical. And that's not even a good word, but that was the best it could be because before I went, 3, 4 nights before, I had these dreams. And in each dream, there was an item that when I woke up, it's like, wow, where is that? It was a, hummingbird that had broken off of a thing, and there was a heart, and then da 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 da. And I'm going, wow. And the final night, the dream, all these little pieces came together. And it was the name of the artwork that I created from it is called There's Joy in the Transformation of a Broken Heart. Joy is the hummingbird, transformation is the butterfly. The heart is a quartz heart, pink quartz heart that used very similar, not exactly the same, but same idea as what was on Mara's tomb. Remember, there was a rose quartz heart on her tomb at one time? On my first trip, it was there.
I
Yeah.
don't remember. I don't remember.
Yeah.
Well, wait a minute. First trip was in 90, 92 or
I
91.
think so.
92, yeah,
I
92.
think so.
Yeah,
Um,
that would okay. I don't remember that
no,
rose quartz, but I don't doubt that you do.
well, when I saw it, it was like, oh my goodness, It was and the other thing for me was that I had made a promise with God when I was very young. It was didn't call him Mayor Baba at that point, but and I don't know why, Ron, I would have made such a promise, quite frankly. Well, I do now, but not back then. Don't ever let me bow down to anybody but you. That's all I'm asking. Don't let me ever do that.
Wow,
And
that's
so when
unusual.
I went up to the Samadhi the first time and I got to the threshold, there was this feeling that was so palpable And I remember crossing that threshold and I was down, like no thought, nothing. I was just boom, I was down. And I knew I was home. I knew it. It was like, I'm home. It was
Hmm.
so beautiful. Yeah, yeah. It's been a ride, let me tell you, say the least. Yeah. No regrets.
Now
No.
that you are remembering 92 and our joint um, pilgrimages, that was my third. And the first time I was at the Pilgrim Center, which it was not open the previous time I went. It was right before it opened. And I went
Okay.
over there and looked at the kind of the shell of it.
Uh,
They had built the outer part of it, but it was not in use at that time. And I thought that'd be a
okay,
nice place to go, probably, but
right.
it did take me 13 years before I I uh, I got to stay there. So when I walked in there and I looked around, I said, "Oh, what a beautiful
Yeah.
place!" And I was having these thoughts and imagining what it would be like. I mean, it was my first day there, and
Wow.
and so what happened was I had a thought. Another one of the thoughts was, I wonder who I will meet while I'm here, who I'll interact with,
Mhm.
pilgrims versus Mondali, and well, every once in a while, Baba does this to me. He said, "Hold on, Ron, that thought is not working for you anymore. We're getting rid of that. That whole idea of who's gonna, how life is gonna come to you, and that's not good enough. If you want to be the person that you have in mind being, you're going to have to be much more outgoing to be able to not be in terror approaching somebody to talk to them about, talk to them
Okay.
or just contact them.
Right.
You can't wait for them to do it to you or for some artificial means. Uh, so I challenge you. Baba said he's challenging me
Mm.
to make a personal contact with every pilgrim and every mandali.
Wow.
I mean, that's something I hadn't ever even conceived of. And I knew it was way outside anything I'd ever practiced. So, but the thing is, I knew that Baba was so right. Why he took 20 years to bring it up, I don't know, but that was his way of doing things. He let me be the other person. Now he said, that's not who you need to be now. Come on.
That's
He said,
awesome.
you gotta, you gotta do this. So I just said, I realized it was so true. And I said, I'm
Mm.
going to do it. But since I don't have any idea how to do it or that I have any of what it takes, you're going to have to help me, Baba. So I said, I'm relying on you to help me.
Okay.
So he did. And I was constantly on the lookout for who I needed to uh, to connect with.
Right.
And it wasn't anything big. It didn't have to be a big thing, but in some cases it would turn out to be that. But I
Right.
had to be the one that
Uh-huh.
initiated it. Well,
Gotcha.
I mean, if it happened this other way, fine. Uh, but if it didn't, I had to see to it.
Right.
Every
Right.
person, right?
Right.
Now, one of the people was Martin.
My Martin?
Your Martin was
Oh,
one of the people that I had not yet connected with,
oh my.
and I it was a weird situation. About it wasn't easy to connect with him. At least in my mind, it wasn't easy for these reasons. One is he always would sit at the dining table that was against the wall in the corner. So there were like two walls, and he was in the corner, and you would be on one side of him, and somebody else would be over here, and uh, and after a while, so I never could get close enough to just say something. All I had to do was just say something, and I
Yeah.
had made the contact, but I couldn't get over there. Plus, even if I could, for some reason, I thought, well, what would I say? I mean, what can I say? He already, I'm sure, knows sort of who I am because he's talked to my wife Lisa, and he's seen his daughter with my kids. He knows who I am. I've talked to you, and I talked to your daughter, and uh, anyhow, so I thought this is a hard one, Baba, but I don't know. You wanted me to reach every person, so and then you're about to leave. You don't have many days left,
No.
and I thought, what am I going to do here? Uh, so I said, okay, it's your help, Baba. So one day I walk out onto the veranda of the um, Pilgrim Center, and I look to my right, and sitting on a bench is Martin by himself. And Baba says to me, "All right, Buster, get over there.
This is it.
Just get over there. Here's my help. The rest is
Oh,
your deal." So I go over there. I I don't know. I sat down next to him. Said, "Now I've got to say something." I sat right next to him, and I couldn't say, "Oh, by the way, I'm Ron Greenstein," or and, uh, "Who are you?" And I knew who he was. He knew who I was, but we hadn't ever connected.
right.
So what am I going to say? So one of the things that I like to do with Baba people, with non-Baba people, is tell stories.
Okay.
And oh, here we are having a story meeting too. Anyhow, I say to Martin, I say, I didn't even had asked him his name or anything like that. I didn't call him, but I just said, I looked over and said, "You want to hear a Baba story?" That was the opening. All right.
Nice.
Now I've connected with him. And he said, "Yeah." So I tell this Baba story, which I'm not going to tell right now. Maybe I will someday, um, uh, one of these meetings. But I'm telling the story, and usually when I told the story, and I've told it many times at that point, I've told it many times since. Um, there's a climactic part in the story that usually chokes me up a bit.
Uh-huh.
And I had a feeling it was going to happen again because it just almost always would do that. It
Right.
was so touching. And so I get to that part and I started choking up.
Mm.
And then Martin and I began to sob
Mm.
out loud. We were making noises
Uh-huh.
and we looked at each other. And I think we were both quite amazed as when we looked at it objectively, that here's these two grown men sitting on this bench in India, sobbing. What's
Uh,
going on here? But then we started laughing because it
Yep.
was just amazing
Beautiful.
that we were doing that. So anyhow, that was one of the anecdotal parts of me reaching, making these contacts. And I'll
Right.
just tell one other one, which was there were two women that showed up there from, I don't know, Vermont or someplace.
Mm.
I can't remember exactly where they were from, but one of them looked pretty easy. Like I would be able to connect with her.
Right.
But the other one seemed like, I don't know, this woman doesn't look approachable at all. But
Right.
never, they were always together. And so I, 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 I probably hesitated going over to them uh, at the dining hall. So I thought to myself, Baba, how am I going to reach these people? They definitely have to connect with them. They were only going to be there for a pretty short time. But I went to visit Mansari one day, and
Mm,
as I came out, it had been raining and it was still a little, I think it was still sprinkling a little bit.
mm,
And there they were underneath the, whatever you
yeah,
call that sheltered
yeah.
area, sitting on a table facing
Wow.
Mansari's um, house. And so again, Baba said, there's a seat right in front of them. Go there and sit down and tell them who you are. That's it.
Wow.
And I did. But the thing about it was that by doing that, I initiated uh, a connection with the woman who I thought I would never have anything to say say to. I started sharing a lot of things with her. The other one, not really at all, but with this woman. And the last day they were going to be there, we were riding on the bus back from
Where is
Merzad.
that? Yeah.
Yeah, from Merzad, and we were talking, and then I took out this Steve Klein book. I had brought
Mm.
two books of poetry by Steve Klein, and I said, "Oh, I've got a poem I want to read to you." She said, "Great." And so I read this poem, and we were weeping.
Oh,
We were weeping because
beautiful.
it was just so
Beautiful.
touching and beautiful.
Yeah.
Um, and I thought to myself, you know, if I had not just walked up and sat down
Mhm.
in front of them, that moment is not going to be happening. You
That's
know,
right.
uh,
Yeah.
so I have responsibilities um, to do something. Take the initiative, and this is what Baba wanted to bring out in me and bring out the hesitancy and get rid of it.
Right. Right.
And if you ask anybody who knew me before and who knew me after that, they would say I changed.
Wow.
It definitely was a change. Uh,
Nice.
and for the better, I feel much more at peace and happy
Yeah.
that Baba did that.
Bubba does that for sure.
Right.
And not the same kind of, story or anything, but people in my life, my children, friends, once that connection was really locked and loaded, I'd say, you're so happy now. Not that you weren't, you were always happy and kind, but now, like you're vibrant, and yeah. And the piece of artwork that I did that I was talking about earlier, I'm not sure if I gave you the title of it. It was called There's Joy in the Transformation of a Broken Heart, because that's where I was when I was recreating what am I going to do out there in the world when I met Martin, who then brought me to Baba. Yeah, it was pretty magical on so many levels. Yeah. I love hearing people's stories.
Mm.
When I was taking care of Arnavas and people would come in and tell stories, I loved it. As the most bizarre things happen. But clearly, Baba knows exactly what it takes to turn that key. And that's what the situation he's going to place you in. It's amazing. It's beautiful. It's
Yeah.
so beautiful.
I'm reminded of my cousin who lived in Montreal,
Hmm.
and she was my youngest first cousin
Okay.
from my mother's side and any side. I had a lot of first cousins, particularly on my mother's side, and she was the youngest of them all. When
Yeah.
the last time I had seen her, which was also the first time and only time I had ever met her physically, was she was in a crib most of the time.
Okay.
And I remember she would say her thing was no touch at me. That that was that was just something I remember that she
Yeah.
probably said some other things, but not that much because she was probably only 2 years old or something. Um, so I was like, I think I was 10.
Okay.
Anyhow, um, so that was all I knew about her. and my aunt and her brother had come to Miami, Florida, where I lived when I was a boy, but
Mm,
she hadn't been born yet, I don't think. So it
mm,
was just that one time when our family went from New York, where we were staying for the summer, and we went to Montreal for a few days.
mm,
But what happened was, many years later, uh, one of my older first cousins was receiving was writing letters back and forth with Cheryl, my young cousin there, um, and she had some problems. Uh,
mm,
her husband was they were, I think they were divorced, but perhaps um, they were just separated. I can't remember exactly. Um, but she needed some financial support. And she wrote to this cousin and asked if she could ask around to the other first cousins if anybody
mhm,
could offer. Now, I know in Canada, at least in Montreal, uh, there's a lot of good support systems, but she
mhm,
just needed a little bit more because she had two young boys.
mm,
And
right.
so with these two young boys, she asked for some help. And so I contributed to the fund, and um, and she wrote me a letter
Mm,
telling me about her life and what was going on with her. And I thought, well, I'm going to write her a letter and I'll tell her about my life. I mean, that seems like the right thing to do.
mhm,
So the one of the things that I did not leave out was the most important thing, which was I told her that I was a follower of Mayor Baba, and
mm,
I included in that this pamphlet that we had created. I guess this was uh, in the 90s, and so in 94, for Baba's 100th birthday, there was a pamphlet created that went out to the whole San Francisco Bay Area. It was
yeah,
left here and there for people to find out about Mayor Baba for his 100th birthday.
yeah,
And so she received it. I said I didn't tell her personally about who Baba was. I said,
right.
I'm enclosing this pamphlet. If you're interested in Mayor Baba, this is a pretty good introduction.
Mm,
Anyhow, she gets in touch with me. I think she might have called me and says that she liked reading that pamphlet about Mayor Baba. As she said, it made her feel relaxed.
mm,
Uh,
right.
Now, Cheryl probably was high on the list of some of the world's greatest warriors
Mm,
of all time. I mean, her that was her part of her identity. I think
right.
was anxiety and worry.
Yeah.
Um, at least from what I knew about her
Mhm,
at that time. Uh, she pretty much talked in those terms. Now, uh, what she did do is she told me that this had made her feel relaxed. And did I have any books? She asked me if I
um,
had any books. I happen to have two copies of Nashirwan's book, The Beloved, I believe it's called, which
okay.
really is a nice introductory book. It's got uh, it talks about Baba's life and his messages too. So it's a
Right.
very good book for that. And I just happened to have two copies, so I sent her one.
Nice.
Now, what happened was, in the meantime, a a court trial is coming up in which her husband is asking to have custody of the two boys.
Mm,
Now, you would have to be completely blind uh, to if you could meet both of them. And I hadn't met him. I didn't know anything about
mm.
him. But the thing was, she was a great advocate for those two boys.
Mm,
Her love had made her
mhm,
a tremendous advocate, even
yeah,
though she didn't have a lot of money and those kinds of things.
yeah.
She really did her best, and these boys were. they were tough customers, but
Mm.
she was great. And uh, but I didn't really know any of that. All I know is I sent her that book, and
Mhm.
she's walking out to the car. Her friend had come to pick her up and drive her to the court. In the on the walkway away from her house is coming the mailman.
Mm.
The mailman says, I have a package for you. You want it? Or should I put it in the? All right, I'll take it. So she took this book. I had wrapped it
Wow.
up as a package, and so I think she must have known what it was because you see that it was from me. So and it
Mm.
felt like a book. So she didn't open it or anything. She just gets in the car and they drive to the court. Now, I've been in courts before. Uh, I've never been, I don't think I've ever been in court as a defendant. Mostly it's like jury stuff and things like
Right.
that. Uh, but if you're talking about custody of your kids to somebody who she knows they would not thrive, or at
Yeah.
least in her mind, that is the case. This was heavy. This was heavy duty stuff, right? I mean, so
Yeah.
cold and heavy, dark.
Yes.
Anyhow,
Yeah.
it was weighing on her.
Mm.
And so she's holding this book in her arms, and it bends her over, and she somehow lays her head down so that it's on the book.
Ah, wow.
And at that moment, all those thoughts that were rushing through her mind
Yeah.
about what could happen, what's going to happen, all these things that would cause worry and anxiety just rose off of her.
Wow.
And I don't know if she
Beautiful.
felt like this was everything's going to be okay. She
Yeah.
might have had that feeling,
Yeah.
or even that
Mm.
sense that it was she
Mm.
was being told that.
Yeah.
Anyhow, it did work out, and she kept the custody of the kids.
Beautiful.
That part, but she also became a Baba lover.
Nice.
And one of the there weren't many Baba lovers in Montreal. There was only like, I don't know,
No.
not more than 10, but probably less than that. And I went there some just a few years later, with my son, and I met some of them. And she became like the hostess of the Baba lovers, and she would have the meetings at her house and stuff,
Yeah.
and she
Yeah.
would organize. That's what happened. And it was quite beautiful.
Wow.
Um,
Beautiful. That's so beautiful.
so that's one of the ways Baba works.
Absolutely. And that
Uh,
beautiful story.
yeah.
Beautiful story. Yeah,
I
I
just want to
think,
add another thing that she would write me letters and things and email. I think it was mostly emails, but I remember one time she said that she went to the synagogue, and the the rabbi, uh, suddenly, I don't think she was expecting this at all, wanted to point her out as someone, for some reason, had had this tremendous change, and that she was
wow.
her I can't remember how they uh
Yeah.
put it, but it was like such a noticeable change, and he
Wow.
was happy, and he wanted everybody in the whole
Yes. Yeah.
congregation to be happy that Cheryl had this experience. I don't think he knew it had anything to do with me or Bob, but maybe he did. I can't be sure. I can't recall exactly.
Yeah. Right.
I have those emails here in a little file, but uh, that was because it was true. She just changed.
Yeah.
Baba was instilling faith in him. Uh,
Wow.
one more thing was she would call me because I was her link with Baba.
Right.
I didn't really
Right.
want to be.
Yep. Yep.
I mean, I could be the link, but I didn't want to be somebody that came in between Baba. I wanted her to have
Yes.
a
Sure.
relationship with Baba, right?
Yeah.
So,
Right.
so when she would call me and say, asked me a mundane question or any kind of a question like that, I would say, well, just ask Baba. You can ask Baba. I don't need to ask, I would ask
Right.
Baba and tell you, no, I don't need to. You already are a Baba lover. You do. That's, and she stopped calling me about it, or contacting me
Mm.
about all these sort of trivial things, but
Uh-huh.
just really wanted to have connection. But I think she realized what she really needed was the connection to Baba.
Right, right.
One final thing. This is the mind.
No,
This
this is lovely.
tops it off. This
Don't
tops it off.
apologize.
Years later, um, she got remarried, and what happened was her ex-husband, the one that had wanted to get
Mhm.
custody, he had a nervous breakdown,
Oh, dear.
and he was divorced now from the woman that he had left, sharing
Oh,
to
okay.
get married to. So he was by himself, and he reached out to her,
Mm.
uh, and she took him in, and he lived
Wow.
with him for a year, I think, until
Wow.
he healed up from his nervous breakdown.
Wow.
That to me
That's beautiful.
is
Yeah.
really transformational.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
That's Thanks for sharing that. That's really lovely. Really lovely. Yeah, the human experience is full of lots of stories, that's for sure. And some of them are just so rich. I'm really glad that I got on here today. I needed this. I
I do
really
too.
did. More than I thought I did. So I'm
Mm.
really happy that I did because I went, oh, I don't know. Should I? I don't know.
All right. So now I just want to make a comment to all these people that are listening to us on the recording, not here, but on the recording. Um, you know, see, Wendy is a perfect example of how you can actually be here and share and enjoy in a little bit more live. I mean, we can't hug each other, but um, in some way, maybe we are,
Yeah,
uh, and saying J Baba to one another
yeah.
in real time. If it's real time, I don't know if that's that a real thing, real time.
I think I
Illusion.
call those heart connections. That's what it feels like to me. When I'm in a situation like this, there's a heart connection, and there's just nothing else in the way. You're just there. You're just present. And you don't get a lot of that out there in that craziness today. And it's nice. It's nice to
Right.
have those for sure. Yeah. And I have to be honest, I think it's very interesting that probably have not interacted with you or even seen you for so long. And then all of a sudden, COVID comes along and you start seeing faces and so on and so forth. And then when I got sick, I wasn't able to travel. And I don't know that I'll ever get over to India again, but we'll see. If it's meant to be, it'll be. But
Mhm.
it's like Bob is taking care of it now. He's, you know, dropping little seeds of potentials of, reconnecting with people. So yeah, it's lovely. It really is. Nothing like it. And
Yeah.
it, yeah.
I
It
balked at the concept of having to do Zoom um, for a while, and then I realized that the people who used to meet with, who would meet with me, they didn't want to meet anymore, uh, and
oh,
and so I had to turn to Zoom and give it a shot, and uh,
oh,
and of course I'm glad that I eventually found some appreciation for the efforts that people take to come out and organize and create these platforms for us to share
yes.
Baba.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's important. And I think the more that we share our moments, the more he grows out there in the world. He does, you know. All the years that I went to India, all the groups that I ran here at the house, they held space for me until I came back. Because one time I was over there for 3 months straight. And when I got back, they just said, okay, tell us everything. Tell us everything. And they just wanted to hear about it. And yeah, one of the ladies actually went to India with me one year. Yeah, it was pretty cool. So,
Let's say hi to Arthur. Arthur has joined us.
hi.
Hello, how's everybody doing?
Good.
How you doing, Arthur?
Well, it's a beautiful day and I feel pretty good for a change. I'm having a pretty good day.
All
Good.
right. All
So
right.
I guess the
Where do
first
you
question.
live, Arthur?
Southern Illinois, uh,
Okay.
near Carbondale, about 300 miles south of Chicago, 100 miles
Okay.
east of St. Louis. Right, they call it the heartland, right in the dead center of the country.
Okay. All right. I
Little
don't,
Egypt. They call this place Little Egypt because all the towns around are named after places in Egypt, like Mounds and Memphis and Cairo. They're all nearby towns. Tams.
okay. Ah, cool. I like that.
I'm waiting
You
for
know,
Mo.
Arthur gave us a story. I believe it was how he came to Baba, if I'm not mistaken, if I'm remembering correctly, but it was only the beginning, a chapter, the first chapter. So have you come to offer up a second chapter?
Well, you know what I did, because it's like I was on the spot when a couple of people asked me, because it's so complex. How Baba came to me, is like it's just magical as can be. So what I did is I just made two short videos. I made a 5-minute video, the first one, to explain how or what way I perceived getting into it, and then I made another one, and it went further. And so I like doing that because I just click on my camera here and I sit here, and I just ad lib, and they turned out real good. And but it's still, I could go back over it and add so much to it. So
Yeah, they're worth
uh,
retelling. They're worth
Yeah.
telling, but also retelling.
yeah,
Yes, I agree.
Yeah,
yeah, it's
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
it's
was listening.
important.
I was listening to Arsenio Rodriguez, who's been telling his stories, and he told his story of how he came to Baba, and then Betty uh, asked him to tell his story. He said, "I know you told it before, but would you like to tell it again?" And he told it
Ah,
again. And he loved telling it again, and there were
yes.
some things that he I didn't recall from the first time. So yeah,
Right.
would you like to show your film?
yeah. I'll show. I got it right here.
All right. So that means I have to. Oh my God, how do I do? All right, hold on.
I'll go ahead and I'll track her down here.
All right, and in the meantime, I have to make you co-host. Make co-host. There we go. Okay.
Okay.
And
Do you want the video URL? Do you want the link and you just show it, or do you want me to? You want
you
me
show
to?
you show it on your computer,
Okay.
and because you can show what's on your computer.
Okay.
I've never done this, but I think that's how it's done. Let's let's find out if it's
All
done.
right.
Glad it's you, Ron.
Yeah.
Glad it's you, not me.
So, Arthur, press the button on the bottom there where it says share screen.
Okay. All right. I'm clicked on now.
Click on that, and then it'll also say share screen.
Okay. I've got it here.
Yeah, see what happens.
Okay. Your screen sharing is paused, it says.
What's that?
It says I have an orange box that says my screen sharing is paused. Do I need to click the video and make it play, maybe? Is that what it means?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
All right, let me see here. Let's see. I need to get back in the. Huh. Uh, Well, Ron, I ain't having,
It says you've started screen sharing, but you have to, can you see the video on your screen?
well, I've got it up on YouTube.
All right, there you are. There you are.
Oh, is it working? Is it working?
Well, I can't tell if this is live or,
No,
No,
this is a film.
this is his video here.
okay, let's have some volume.
That's the max volume I got.
Maybe we all need to mute.
Okay, I'll rewind it here. Okay, now we go.
Good morning. My name's Arthur. I live here in Little Egypt, which is a region of Southern Illinois. And I have an incredible story to tell that has to do with spiritual enlightenment, spiritual growth, and the masters and the race of beings that's in charge of educating and transforming humanity, all under the auspices of the one God. So anyways, it started my story a long time ago. It's been 1975, or yeah, 1975.
I can't hear him.
The Catholic Church, because I didn't agree with something they said. I think it was if a baby is born and dies before it is baptized, then it never
Is that
has a
better?
chance to see God. It goes to
That's better.
The audio is not adequate.
just like that, but you never got to see God. Well, when I heard that baby is born that dies before it,
Here, I'll rewind
and
this. Here
I
we
had
go.
just left the Catholic Church because I didn't agree with something they said. I think it was if a baby is born that dies before it is baptized, then it never has a chance to see God. It goes to limbo. And limbo was like a place where everything was just like that, but you never got to see God. Well, when I heard that, something snapped in me. And I'd already been an altar boy in the Catholic religion for, 8 years. I went to Catholic school, and right next to it was Catholic church. I did all the arrangements for all the services and stuff for the priests. They flew me to Washington, D.C. to their head spot.
Arthur, are you there?
Yeah,
Yeah, this audio, I even straining to hear it is
Yeah.
not coming up with anything. It's going to be better because I can hear you when you're live, but not in this video.
what if
Yeah,
I
I think
just,
next time you make the video, you're going to have to get closer to your microphone so that the audio is clearer.
yeah,
I recommend that. Just
what if I send you the link? Can you play it and maybe it'll sound better? I'll just send you the link to the video.
yeah, that's possible. You could send the link.
Well, you always send it in a chat room?
Yeah, put it in the
All right,
chat.
let me figure out how to do this real quick. Oh, I still don't know how to get around here. I'm only getting 3 little windows. I'm not getting the full. I can't even get back into the Zoom.
Just
Oh, wait, here we go.
stop
I got
sharing the
I
screen.
got I got it. Okay, I'm gonna send it to the chat room here. There's the chat room. All right, I'm copying and pasting. Okay, I pasted. That's it right there. You get it?
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
It might do better this way. I don't know.
Now, are you going to try to play that, Ron?
what?
Are you going to try to play it now?
Not now. I'll do it on my own.
So how would I do that? I am not computer techie, so
Yeah,
do I
I
just
was gonna
highlight
just
it?
try to write down the
Well,
thing.
I sent it. You got an email? I sent it to you in an email if you want.
Yeah.
Okay,
All right. So,
All right.
yeah. Why
so
don't you stop sharing the screen in the meantime?
All right, how do I do that?
Stop screen
All
share.
right, I see it. I've got 2 screens.
There you go. There you go. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. So do you have something to write with? We could each give you our
I just put it in the chat.
oh, you did?
Okay, great.
All right, then I'll put mine in there too.
Oh yeah, I see it. I'll just copy it and I'll send it to you right now.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, there it is. Did you get it, Arthur?
Yeah, I'm gonna mail you right now.
Okay. I am not computer techie at all. I'm like a kindergarten kid.
Uh, we all are. You gotta learn something new every day on them now. It's like,
Yeah.
Okay, I sent you mine too. Thank you.
Yeah.
But you know, it's great that you can make those videos like that. But
Mhm.
uh, if you could get a microphone that would be closer, uh,
uh, yeah,
you,
I'm setting up this little room here as a studio now. I've got my guitar and I've got
oh,
amps.
yeah, of
I'm setting
course.
up, I'm setting it
Nice.
up so it's gonna be like a studio, living room, TV room, and everything room right here.
There you go. That'll
Awesome.
work.
Now let's see here. Okay.
Anyhow, I've got another short little Baba story that you may have heard because I think this is written down in some places, and maybe I know I heard it. I think originally I heard it from an old time Baba lover who came to the San
Mm,
Francisco Bay Area and told us a bunch of stories, including other people's stories,
right.
which I liked. I like the fact that he didn't just tell us his own thing, but he stories that he liked. And this one has to do with Baba's Sahavas programs. It was probably at Guru Prasad in 62 or 65. I'm guessing 65. Um,
Okay.
which was mostly for the Eastern Baba lovers. Uh, so this one woman, a Baba lover, what ended up in the back row of that large under the pandal, So she was way back there, and she was on the aisle of the women's section, and so she was right on the aisle, and then across from her there were the men over there. So she began to bemoan her distance that was between her and Baba, physical distance. You know,
Mhm.
she said Baba just looked like this tiny little, tiny little person. She couldn't make out hardly, couldn't see his eyes, or his expression very well, and even more important than that, can Baba see me? Does Baba even know I'm here? And that was bothering her. She
Yes.
was quite anxious about the idea that Baba wouldn't know that she was there.
Right.
And she probably even said to herself, of course he knows everything, but still, that mind was giving her a hard time, maybe he doesn't know, and all this kind of thing. And so every once in a while it would crop up in her mind, and she would have to go through that. So after 3 days, let's say, of that kind of torment, uh, Baba asked one of the Mandali to ask a man named something, whatever his name was, to stand up. And uh, nobody, well, actually, three people stood up.
Oh,
And Baba looked at them and he said, no, that's not who I want. Ask again. Have those people sit down. Ask again for him to stand up. So then this guy stood up, a different guy, and the woman was looking at, paying attention to what was going on here, and she recognized that guy that stood up was somebody who had been the first 3 days, had been sitting right across the aisle from her in the back row, but on the men's section. She recognized him, because she would always, that was a person that she would always see. Uh, but he wasn't there now. He was somewhere else. And so Baba said, Baba tells the Mandali, ask him, why did you move your seat?
wow.
So this is how Baba does his business, right? I mean, who could come up with something like that,
Yeah.
right?
That's awesome.
So natural and so intricate and so amazing and magical.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
just
And
boggles
it's
the mind.
just, if it's meant to be, like you, yeah. Yeah. So many times I can remember going over to India on my own, which if somebody had ever said that I would travel to India by myself, whoa, not even close. And because of Martin's profession, I would be bringing for Marisad all these remedies for the Mandali. And I was like, wow, because as the years went on, sometimes I'd just leave my clothes there because I knew I was going back. Then I'd have room in my suitcase. And I remember this one trip near, I don't know, maybe a week or two before I was to depart, Shelley called, and I think it was Dr. Goher, wasn't well and needed remedies. And anyway, the long and the short, the suitcase was quite full, to say the least. And so anyway, I get to Mumbai and I get it off the roundabout thing that's there. And I'm trying to look like it's not that heavy and I can handle this. And you know how you get there and there's these lineups and they say, you over here, you over here. So anyway, this one guard or whatever you call them, come over here, over here. And my heart's going 100 miles an hour because I'm so close to getting to, the remedies out the door here. So anyway, one thing that I learned from the very beginning, traveling alone, was always make sure, Wendy, you have nuts or chocolate bars or something that you can bargain with. And so anyway, so I go over, and just before we had gotten to that place, I was hungry. So I had opened up these almonds and I'd taken a handful out and eaten some. And I guess, I didn't really put it back very well. Anyway, I could see he was looking at it, but I didn't know what he was looking at. And then I was like, oh, he's looking at the nuts. So I said to him, would you like some? And he could, they kind of look, if you've ever been there, they have this kind of stern look. And so I get it out and I give it to him. He stamped my passport. Out I went. No questions asked. It was like, oh, thank you, Mama. Thank you. Thank you.
There's
Just
Ralph.
those little things. And, hi, Ralph.
Hey, Ralph.
What is it? Hi,
You're
Jay Baba. Jay
Jay
Baba.
Baba, good to see you.
What got stabbed, Wendy?
What was that, Ralph?
What got stabbed?
Oh, nothing got stabbed. I had almonds in my backpack.
Yeah.
And when I was going through customs, and I had all these remedies for the Mandali. So I said, would you like some of these almonds? And so the security guy, he just stamped my passport and then I was through. So I didn't have to worry.
Stamped
Yeah.
your passport.
Correct.
I didn't get at all get the gist what you were talking about.
Oh, sorry.
Arthur,
Okay.
I was wondering if you would, since we didn't get a chance to hear the story on this format, could you redo it once you get something, a different microphone set up at some point, and then come on and offer it up that way? Either that or just tell it live, because we can hear you live like this.
Yes.
This is fine.
So
Either way,
okay, yeah, I just sent you both in your email. You should have an email with both videos in it.
Okay.
yeah. But
Thank you.
the thing
I'd like
is,
to know if it works. Okay, yeah, Ron, yeah, I'll try to do better on that. It's loud enough here, but I don't know if I have everything adjusted correct on my Zoom for that.
Could you give us a sneak preview just from your heart today?
Boy, it's all in there, pretty good. Well, okay, I'll make a rough draft ad lib here. Like I was
Thank
saying,
you.
I was raised Catholic, but I can go all the way back to like when I was 5. I started having these thoughts about God because I'd heard about him, in kindergarten, and a little bit about God, and I wanted to know more. And like I remember walking home from my kindergarten, which was a block away, and my dad always he was a water well driller. He would come home and fix me lunch, and when I got about halfway there, I'm like, well, I'm gonna find out if this God's real or not. And I said, I am God, and I took off running because I was afraid he was going to throw a lightning bolt at me, and it didn't happen. But I mean, so I got home. I said, Dad, who is this God? He says, well, Art, God's God and all that. I said, well, I got a couple questions I want to ask him. He goes, well, son, I do too, and that was it, and when Dad couldn't answer the question, something was, I was like, okay, well, nothing more was said. But so we went to Catholic school, and did that whole trip, and I was like the head altar boy and all that, and they even had me speaking Latin, talking Latin and stuff. And I did the whole thing, and it was a pretty good deal because the priests were always getting me out of school to do, wax the floor or whatever, So I had a big interplay with well, they got the lightning and everything, went through the whole school and everything, got 8th grade, and they wanted to make me a priest, so they flew me to Washington D.C., which is where the head rectory is, and so I didn't know what I was doing. I thought, okay, I'll go. So we got on the plane, and now getting onto the plane, we had Flaming Cherries Jubilee, and everything tableside at the airport. And I mean, it was first class the whole way. We flew over the Indianapolis 500 the same day it was going on, so I got to see them down there racing. And we landed, and then we had at the airport, beef stroganoff tableside, just fancy everything, and I'm like, wow, that's pretty neat, So we get to the place where all the priests stay, and they had a huge school there. Looked like one of those places you see in Cambridge or something. One of those gigantic buildings with many floors and many rooms. And so that night, they gave me my own room and everything. And that night I went down and joined them, and they had plush everything. They had silver teapots, beautiful furniture, everything you could imagine. They had a pool table there, and that was my thing because the town I grew up in Johnson City, is where they held the World Championship pool, all the pool tournaments for 10 years. That's all I did was play pool. I mean, so they all smoked, they drank, we shot pool all night, and I thought, well, this Valley of Poverty, these guys, they got the nuns baking chicken pot pies for them, and I got back to the room and I'm like, man, something ain't right. This just ain't right for me. And I was really turned off by the whole thing. When I finally got back to town, I was so happy. And so I started running around, and playing pool and hustling. I used to make money. I was 15 years old, but they still let me in the bars because I could play so good. And then so I was always had beer and money running around. Well, I met this bread man. He came in after a shift, and we started shooting some pool, and we enjoyed each other's company. And he was real sharp. He seemed like a real nice guy with a great personality and everything. He says, I was out of pot, and back then I smoked pot, and I said, well, he says, come on out the house and I'll give you some. And I went out there, and when I got out there, he gave me a book, and this book talked about the Elohim, and this race of beings that was helped create man in the Garden of Eden and everything, and they had some Plato in it, and they had 2 or 3 things about, and I got real interested because I just left my religion basically, because that just kind of shut me down, that whole Catholic scene, and I was real hungry for all this. So I started reading this book, and reading that book. Next thing just exhaustive research, every kind of book, palmistry, tarot, astrology, every kind of book I could get, philosophy. And but I really liked this book he gave me because it had this story of, this race of God beings that was taking care of mankind and nurturing through it. It just made more sense than any religion I'd ever heard, So I got finally that he said, well, I tell you where I got this. There was in Carbondale, that was the big college campus there, Southern Illinois University campus. All the kids from Chicago came down there, and it was happening back then. I mean, Timothy Leary was over there, Bob Dylan would come by, Buckminster Fuller, they had geodesic domes, and it was like a hub for all kinds of stuff, all the hippies. There was a lot of drugs, a lot of drinking, and it was the #1 party school in the nation at the time. But they had a lot of stuff that was new age type, So let's see, where do I go from here? Let's see, so Carbondale. Oh, so he said, the people that gave me this, they're at part of a spiritual school, and they work at the Family Fun, which was kind of like a Denny's breakfast. And he said, they all work there, and they said, you can go over and meet them and talk to them, So I went over and I met them and everything, and they had what they called outside classes on Wednesday night. And so I said, well, I want to know more. And I went and I listened, and I liked what I heard and everything, and read a little bit more of the books and everything, and it led me into trying to figure out what life's all about. I mean, it was like I felt like I was on a mission now, It's like I have to find this out. I have to know what's going on, and everything else kind of just disappeared into that. And so like I said, I started studying and researching everything and reading really heavy spiritual books. Like the book that got me really good was it was written by Wendell F. Porter, and he was a Meher Baba, and Master Jesus baptized him in 1972, and he was born as a perfect master. This is something that nobody's asked me about, but this is, as far as I'm concerned, it's real. And so he had the school, and I wanted to join it, and I tried to join it, and my family threw a fit. It's like, we raised you to be Catholic all these years. What are you doing going off and joining this? Because this was the time that Jim Jones was going on and Charles Manson, and stuff. And my mother's sister, or her aunt or something, had a boy that was a younger guy, and he joined a cult, and they never heard from him again. So it was my mom's worst fear that I get into something like this, And so it was a nightmare from then on. But I tried to join. I couldn't do it because I was worried about all that stuff and everything. And so I just kind of went out on my own. And but I started talking to a lot of people about what they thought was going on in life. What's life all about? What's the best thing we can do while we're here? And man, people were just. We were having some really good talks. People were looking for me, to talk about spiritual stuff. And so I had me a new ego now, I felt like, wow, this is great, And you got really high when you did it, when you talked about spiritual things, you get going good. And so now I'm into it totally, and I eventually decided to join the school, which was the base was in Illinois, but the second base, the new school was in Santa Cruz, California, and so I told Mom I'm going to California, and oh my God, all hell broke loose. She was pretty well connected. She had the FBI after us, the IBI after us, trying to, this guy's brainwashing my kid and I was 19 years old. They're taking him away from him, and so that went on never did stop. I mean, until Mom passed away 5 years ago. The whole family was just totally. I fought it my whole life. So when my spiritual teacher was at he was being prepared to be a vehicle for a perfect mastership. Meher Baba appeared to him in Phoenix, Arizona, when he was at his his biggest crises yet. And he said it was this golden light everywhere, and he said it was the most incredible feeling of love and bliss that he yet experienced. And so he was reading the book Avatar Meher Baba, trying to restore his faith, because he felt like that he hadn't qualified, and so I guess I don't know where to go from here. 2 years later, in 1972, Master Jesus baptized him in cosmic fire, which is that's one thing Master Jesus does. That's his job, and he was born as a perfect master, and from then on, it really gets miraculous. I mean, I got to see a whole lot of stuff. So that's basically how I came to Meher Baba, because Wendell and him, they worked together. He was like those perfect masters. Their job is, it's whatever they need to be done. Basically, they can do it. They was doing planetary work, solar work, healings, whatever you can think of. Classes, didn't sleep, stayed up, superhuman stuff. And I just ran around. So when I finally got out, in the school, I was like the maintenance man. So I stayed there 4 years and everything. He didn't teach much Baba. Matter of fact, he mentioned it a few times, said, this is how he got turned on, that they were working on spiritual planes and everything. But the master had his own, we had our own yoga to do in the morning. We had our own meditations to do in the morning. We all did restaurant work because it was difficult work, and it was designed to toughen you up, get you quicker, sharper. And then we donated our money and made books and tapes and stuff, and so then it really got heavy. And this place was called, the school was called Paradise Lodge, and it was in the Santa Cruz Mountains in Ben Lomond, just outside of Santa Cruz. And it was a recording studio. We had it was like an esoteric school. We had classes there, get-togethers, and we all lived there and did our thing. Anyways, that's a little bit of it.
Okay, Arthur, I appreciate the story, and Wendy, it was great to get together, and I think we've filled up a nice little package for people who want to tune into the recording. So I think I'll end the recording, and then I'm thinking that
This was recording.
we could come back next week.
Okay.
And but really, it's great to hear people tell
I
what
didn't know
they're.
you were recording that, Ron. It's so, I've got so much crap over the years, I've tried to tell people what happened and everything, and it's impossible. You can't, unless you're there and you see it, you can't tell people about stuff that I got to experience.
Right,
So,
right.
So I've been trying to find some way of letting everybody, because this is one of the greatest Baba stories I've ever heard, and I've read a lot of them. But this is just getting started. This is like so, but I didn't know you were recording it. It's pretty ragged.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how it goes over. I mean, you're used to it at this point.
Well, I'm glad you got it out of me, because it's been bothering me. I feel like there's little fears that still come up, and you don't want to, I don't want to pop on and say, hey, I met a perfect master and all this, it's like, that's pretty heavy stuff, Matter of fact, you never even heard of it. This was like the Western perfect master I've ever heard of,
Yeah.
The others, but there's always 5 of them. Baba says there's always 5 of them on earth. So
There you go.
yeah.
Okay. Well, Jai Baba to all of us. And thanks for being here and sharing your time.
They used to
Thank
call
you.